Hi everyone, Joshua Kirk here with you once again, and now it's time for episode 256 of Album of the Day, in which for today's album review I'm going to be talking about a seminal noise rock duo that have been around since the late 90s and have been coming out with some of the most ferocious and in-your-face noise rock and garage rock out there, and even though they've been around for like a couple of decades, they're still kind of a band that more people are slowly finding out about because they are kind of a best kept secret. I am talking about the band known as Lightning Bolt, which consists of drummer and vocalist Brian Chippendale and bassist Brian Gibson. I'm here to review their newest album, released on October 11th, 2019 on Thrill Jockey Records. And the album is called Sonic Citadel. And I got this on vinyl for Christmas. Even though this band have been around for a while, I actually never heard of them until this album. But I heard a lot of my peers, including Anthony Fantano, praising this record, so I decided to give it a shot, and man, am I glad I did. This is an incredible record. This is one of my favorite garage rock and noise rock albums of 2019. I think I will go into a little more detail about it later on, but let me show you. They're really cool album cover. It's one of my favorite album covers of the year, too. Sorry. Anyway, here's the back side of the album, and the track list isn't on this side of the vinyl because if you open it up and go to the gatefold, there's the track listing right there. And there's 11 songs on this album, and it's over 52 minutes. And it's a double LP, too. And here on the sleeve, we got some lyrics here. Each are like pencil drawn, done in a very DIY kind of way. Side A and side B. And here's the other vinyl sleeve. Side C and side D. And that's the vinyl packaging for Sonic Citadel, the new album from Lightning Bolt. And So, this album was kind of my first time hearing a Lightning Bolt album, and like I said, I'm definitely very pleased to have checked out this album. I like how, even though this album still has plenty of distortion and is very, in your face and loud, it also, I've heard for most people, is said to be their most accessible and most cohesive album to date. I mean, the band has even said that this is their poppiest record to date. And it's pretty easy to see why. I mean, there's some pretty coherent song structures going on this album, along with plenty of incredible jamming on the record too. And also, you know how Chippendale's vocals are normally pretty distorted to the point where it sounds like someone on a fast food drive-thru speaker basically just screaming at you. The vocals, they're still distorted, but the distortion is actually dialed down a little bit, which I think is really refreshing because that way I can actually hear some of the words coming out of his mouth, even though, yes, there are still tracks on here where I don't even know what the hell is coming out of his mouth, and mouth. But that's okay, because I don't really listen to Lightning Bolt for lyrics or for vocals. I listen to it more for like the jams, the incredible musicianship, and the very and the kind of stylistic ambition that they uh, that they embody here on this album too. The opening track on here, "Blow to the Head," is exactly what it sounds like. A complete and total musical blow to the head. The big, booming drums, which sound so frantic, along with the really incredible kind of triumphant bass riffs. And I think Chippendale's vocal melody on there, I think, complements the bass line very well too. So, bass line 2, before the band eventually goes into just some complete and total mayhem for the second half of the track. Blow to the Head, the lyrics on here kind of, it makes sense how violent the lyrics are, because, this basically sounds like just this really bad acid trip. In a good way, though. In a good way. Don't get it twisted on me. The next track, USA is a Psycho, as you can tell from the title, the lyrics sound kind of vaguely political, but again, I don't really listen to this band for lyrics necessarily. I mean, that's never really been one of the band's strong suits, as has been what they show off musically. But the track is incredible. I love how the drums are very frantic and fast, and yet they keep tempo with the bass line incredibly well on here. And I also love the moment at the end where Chippendale's vocals sort of become these weird kind of howling loops, creating these layers of swirling noise toward the end of the song, which is really awesome. The track Air Conditioning sounds like kind of this very triumphant but also kind of ugly noise rock track. Excuse me. It's a noise rock track, and there's all kinds of incredible bass soloing on the track. It's the kind of song that, and it's definitely yet another example of the band, making a lot of noise and yet really honing in their pop hooks and their song structures here on this album, because I love how incredibly catchy the song is. The track Husker Don't is actually easily the poppiest song in the whole album. First of all, great title. Love the play on the band name Husker Du on the track. There's a really great hypnotic bass break in the middle of the song, and that follows the two verses on here. And I do really like how the lyrics are kind of nonsensical and sort of supposed to be a very happy kind of song lyrically, even if it sounds very trippy. And the moment of the song that I especially love is when we get the incredible bass break, along with some kind of the point where there's some reverb coming in on the instrumental and on Chippendale's vocals. That combination with the incredible drumming just sounds fantastic. It's one of my favorite rock songs of the year for sure. It's just so triumphant and satisfying. Fine. The track Big Banger, exactly as the title suggests, it is a pretty damn big banger for sure. The bass on the track is just noisy as hell. It was like vroom, 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 vroom. It's just so gruff and loud, and I just love it over the drumming. Then we get this. I mean, Brian Gibson's really showing off some skill playing that bass guitar, playing that bass guitar in all kinds of interesting ways. I mean, I mean, he does like everything from playing it fretless style to maybe occasionally playing his bass with a slide too. He's just a complete and total madman in terms of what he can do with a bass guitar, and I think this track is a perfect example of that. The track Halloween 3 is actually one of the songs on here that's been around for a really long time, dating all the way back to the pre-YouTube days of 2003, when a video was when a video of a live performance of the song called Halloween 3, because the song used to be called just Halloween, was published on the band's MySpace, since back in the day MySpace was the thing to use before we had Facebook and Twitter and all that giddy up. Yep, and now we're getting a full studio version on the album, and it's definitely a pretty incredible studio version, I must say. I mean, the song is a complete and total jam. It starts out with kind of this bouncy, it has a kind of bouncy intro that then transitions into this very triumphant and excellent midsection that I think really is the best part of the song. So, it's the best part of the song. And then towards the end of the song, again, Brian Gibson continues to make all kinds of crazy noise on his bass guitar. So bass guitar, even though I would have liked it if the song did sort of go into maybe a more interesting, cohesive section towards the end. So towards the end, I mean, it can be, I applaud the jamming, but sometimes it can get a little tedious after a while, and I think this song is a perfect example of that. The track Don Henley in the Park is also very poppy with, as Anthony Fantano said in his review, Brian Gibson playing his bass at a very high pitch and playing it in a very meditative way. He plays it kind of like a sitar on this track too. Sitar on this track over the very steady drumming and kind of unintelligible vocals. And I love like how gorgeous the riff sounds. It would even make you think at times it's played with a regular guitar, but instead it's actually a bass playing that pitch. And I mean, Brian Gibson's pretty much one bassist is pretty much showing that, there's no there's no such thing as too many ways to play a bass. The track Tom Thump, though, I would say is probably the weakest track on the album. I mean, the track just feels very underwritten and half-baked. Even if mixing wise it does sound really good, it just isn't as memorable as like other songs on the record. Despite there being a pretty decent bass solo toward the end of the track. The song Bouncy House, as the title suggests. I know I'm saying this a lot, but these songs are like pretty titular as hell if you listen to how they sound or to their lyrics occasionally at times. Excuse me. So occasionally at times, because this song, it has the same sort of bounce and rhythm as a Bouncy House, for sure. House, for sure. The next track, All Insane, is probably the most conventional sounding rock song on the album, which is kind of why it's not my favorite track on the record. I mean, it's a pretty decent attempt at doing a straightforward pop rock song, I would say, and I think the bass at points does sound very freaky and delicious, but but I would say this is the kind of thing that I will say a 5-piece band does a little better than just a duo of bass and drums. Would. I mean, this makes sense given how accessible the album is. But, given how much mayhem the band causes and how triumphant other moments on here, this one just seems a little more tepid in comparison. The closing cut on here, though, on the opposite front, Van Halen 2049 is easily one of the loudest, noisiest, and most adventurous things Lightning Bolt has ever done, which makes this song just such a damn satisfying way to close out the album. Because yes, it is long-winded, and yes, it is chaotic, but man, does it slap. Man, does it slap. Brian. So it's got a very freaky Brian Gibson bass intro, and then other moments where I think the bass and the drums syncopate with each other really well and create these very hypnotic rhythms. Excuse me. So rhythms, and also in the background, there's all kinds of moments in the song where there are just layers of noise and loops of like things being recorded before, whether it's kind of a gibberish vocal shout from Chippendale or some sort of crazy thing Brian did on his bass. And then the song closes out with this kind of weird outro where I'm hearing this sort of fragmented loop or sample of what sounds like. Anthony Fantano said that this instrumental breakdown, the loop in it kind of sounds like blaring harmonicas or something like that. Which upon hearing this album again after his review, I definitely see how the harmonica comparison could be made to this noise here on this track. And it's definitely, there couldn't have been a better way to end this incredible album. And I think old school Lightning Bolt fans will enjoy the flat out sonic mayhem they create on this track. Yeah, I'm really impressed by Sonic Citadel, this new Lightning Bolt record. If you've been a fan of their music for a while, and if you love noise rock, and want to see the band progress into new cool things, you're definitely gonna enjoy this album, I think. I mean, sure, there are purist fans who likely are gonna detract from this album, but I think given how much the fans know that the group definitely likes to try new things and push themselves sonically, I think for the most part fans are definitely pretty happy with this album and what they've done here. And I think actually a casual Lightning Bolt fan who may have struggled to get into their music before might enjoy this record too. For me, definitely a solid 8 out of 10 for this new Lightning Bolt record, Sonic Citadel, and I'll see you for episode 257.